So today I want to talk about simple AI strategy for business and where to start. So AI is a super powerful tool, we all know that. But without strategy, it becomes messy and becomes messy really quickly. So today is about using AI deliberately without hurting your business or your people. Hey, my name's Lawrence. I've generated over 100 million across my companies, failed a lot and made more mistakes than most. So what I share comes from real experience, no bullshit, just the facts. Appreciate you joining. Let's get into it. So number one, go slow, less is more. So learn fast and execute slow. This is the first mistake most businesses will make with AI deployment. They rush the execution strategy. So they feel like they're missing out on something. So they see all the headlines on social media, they hear their competitors doing this and doing that and talking about it. And then they panic deploy. Right, come on, we're all guilty of it. I've done it myself. That never works. This is how you damage your business, your top line and your culture. So my thing would be to be balanced about it and understand all the dynamics at play. So move fast with the learning component, but I would definitely slow down with the execution stage, right? So AI is moving so fast that you can drop into the learning curve at almost any point. Like in 30 days, things are changing. Even in 10 days, there's new applications, there's new code, there's new platforms, and it's all really starting to bubble, right? So that said, so what AI can do today will change in almost probably 30 days on average. So if you rush deployment now, you'll likely unwind it later. So that'll create a big problem for your business and bottleneck it. So that creates frustration, wasted spend, and confused people. Teams get really confused about fast deployment, right? Especially if they don't understand the why. So AI strategy is not about speed of the rollout. It's about speed of understanding. It's about speed of learning, right? Not execution. So an example may be a business that spends 30 days learning and testing ideas will outperform one that rushes 5 tools into production and pulls them back 5 days later, right? So learn fast, 100%, execute slowly, that's for sure. You're not missing out on anything, so be deliberate. And remember, there's such a fast cycle to AI, you can drop in the learning curve at any point. So number 2, workflow first, always. You cannot deploy AI into chaos. Trust me, I've done it. It was a mess. So if your workflow is not documented, decisions become random and super reactive. And AI will amplify the mess instead of fixing it. So be careful with that. So before AI development and deployment, poor workflow was inefficient, right? So with AI, poor workflow becomes expensive. And I know because I've experienced that. So you need to clearly document how your business actually operates. Like you should have that document already. If you don't, you'll need that first before you start thinking about AI deployment. So this includes perhaps client acquisition flow, lead flow, deal flow, operational delivery, support, administration, all those types of tasks that make up your operational workflow. So this becomes your foundation, right? Without that, it's very super difficult to see and have the right lens on where you need to start. And I'll talk about that later. So if you don't understand your business operationally, AI deployment will be very messy and costly and confusing, all of the above, for yourself and for your team and for your AI leader, right? You don't want to do that. So AI doesn't replace thinking, it basically magnifies it. So, an example could be, if you don't know how a lead moves from an inquiry from marketing into your business, adding AI will just automate confusion a little bit faster than usual. So you need to understand and break that down into a workflow. So workflow is super critical, right? So AI sits on top of the workflow, and no workflow equals chaos at scale. So you have to put the workflow together first. Super critical to get that right. All right, number 3, create a simple AI technology plan. Gee, what's a technology plan, Lawrence? Oh, I don't know. You figure it out. It's like a business plan. Well, it essentially is a business plan, right? So once the workflow is clear, you can plan off the back of that. So now, there's no signed contracts, there's no tools you need for that. You need to go old school with that, and you just need to plan. Create a simple AI technology plan based on your workflow, your entire workflow. So break it all down into sections. So break your business into areas. My advice would be, some of the key areas would be sales, marketing, operations, support, customer support, finance, and administration. Those are my go-tos. And that's where I think you should start. Give each area its own page. That's a nice way to do it in a business plan. And on each page, ask one question. Where could AI improve efficiency or remove manual effort? Because that is what you're looking for. So pick one opportunity per area. Don't pick 5, 10, or 15 people, please. Come on, founders. You know you want to put 20 down there. Don't do that. That's never going to work. It's too many unicorns. You know, if you've got 20 unicorns and only 6 bullets in your rifle, you have a problem. Mildly aggressive, but you know what I mean. So you're mapping, you're not deploying yet. So this gives you clarity on where AI actually makes sense and helps you choose the best place to start. It also gives your team a shared document to work from, so decisions stay aligned. And I'm going to talk about that more later in this app, is that you need alignment with this type of deployment, especially with new types of technology, right? So an example could be, instead of we should use AI more, you identify one clear starting point like lead qualification, for example, or admin automation, and just rephrase it, right? So plan before you deploy. Use your workflow as the anchor point and the foundation. So just to recap, plan before you deploy, use workflow as the anchor point and the foundation, and only pick one place to start, founders, not 20. Sometimes I want to choose 20, don't do that, only pick one. All right, number 4, find an AI champion and make them own it. And it should not be the founder. So AI strategy needs an owner. So you don't want someone who's interested in it. You don't need someone who wants to experiment with it. You need someone who wants to own it and who can own it, who have the skills and abilities to do so. So you need what I call an AI champion in the business. Like, you wouldn't call them the IT person, you know, they are probably an AI full stack sort of person, but you know, you just need to be careful about who you choose in that role. Like, this person doesn't need to be the operational day-to-day guy, but they must understand how operations works for the business, and all the touch points to the customer as well. So they need business flow awareness, is probably what I would call it. They need to understand where the value is created and where time is wasted. So that's really, really important. So maybe you're looking at a partnership, so a person who can partner with other leaders in the business to understand those specific verticals, right? But the most important skill they need is not what you think it is. I actually think it's communication, and I'm going to tell you why. AI fails when technical people get frustrated with non-technical teams. Like, you'll see it in IT teams and IT leaders, is that frustration creeps in, right? And then when that happens, there's a misalignment with communication, and everyone starts to get a little bit frustrated, right? It happens all the time. Because I call it IT brain. I think I'm just going to go off on a bit of a tangent here, is that over my years of experience working in executive teams and startup companies of my own, you'll have technical orientated thinkers and non-technical orientated thinkers, right? Salespeople are normally non-technical orientated thinkers. So when you communicate them from a technical perspective from top down, they have no idea what you're talking about. And then you look at them and you go, wow, this person's pretty stupid. Well, they're not. They are just aligned to a different vertical, right? They don't need to be highly technical because they're a salesperson. Now, 10x that in a company, and then guess what happens? You get a lot of misalignment with technology. So deploying AI technology, you sort of need to understand the basic principles of it. I think communication is right at the heart of it, I'll be honest with you. And if you don't understand that, it'll slow down deployment and creates a bit of a mess. So this role also needs a high-level technical fluency across the AI stack or the technology you're trying to deploy. So you need someone highly technical. So we're talking about language models, automation, integrations, visual AI, and systems that talk to each other, APIs and all that sort of stuff, right? So you need someone who's dialed into that. You don't need to train someone who can do that. You already need to find them and bring them in. Now, that said, now you have a recruitment issue, right? So you need to figure that one out. I'm not going to talk about recruitment today because that could be its own app, but think deeply about that. I think getting the right person in that leadership role to manage that technology, who is certainly a good communicator, will make or break the success of your strategy and your plan. The first person you probably already have. So this is one who deeply understands the business. Often it's your chief operating officer, and then you need one who's a technical heavyweight. You put those two together and you'll have a lot of success, I think. So that combination is leverage, right? So think about that deeply. I think it's probably one of the most important things. People don't think that an AI individual or technology deployment deserves planning, strategy, or a communication plan. I absolutely think it does. So I want you guys to think about that because no one is talking about it. And everyone's getting sort of confused, right? So AI needs an owner. You need strong communication around it. that matters more than just raw intelligence. And business flow puts technical depth into the winning strategy, right? So think about the business flow and how the technical application, they might go out for dinner, have a few drinks, get to know each other, spend the night together, get married, and then you'll be in a good place. All right, number 5, document and communicate as you deploy. Documentation, Jesus. Don't use the laws of vain rights. But what I'm saying is people don't document things anymore. And when they do, they over document it. And then when you get the document, the SOP, no one understands it or wants to read it because it's war and peace. Document and bullet points, please. So this will help you choose where you start. So my advice is simplicity. Start where the lowest risk lives. Start where the lowest risk lives, right? What does low risk mean? So stay away from revenue. If you damage revenue intake by deploying AI technology, you'll damage revenue, right? Makes sense. Stay away from critical systems early on. Do that later when you've built some IP. And don't start in anything attached to finance, economics, or billing. Stay away from it. My advice, start with clunky admin procedures, customer UI, UX, or operational tasks. Super low risk, does not technically affect revenue directly. Like they're not first cousins, they're distant cousins. So you can kind of get away with it, right? So I think admin is always the best place to start. It's a really, really good entry point. Like you could start with, email filtering, inquiry routing, summarizing threads, and just reducing all that kind of manual noise that no one wants to do anyway. Marketing and customer chat are also really, really good starting points. So AI can handle 24/7 inquiries while your team is sleeping. Humans need to sleep, the robots won't. So just want you guys to remember this. Look, it's really low risk, low barrier to entry. And there's some high learning value deployment for customers on the UI side as well, right? And the UX side. So, but make sure you document everything. So what you build, we'll put it this way, when you document things, it forces you to think slightly differently, right? And it forces you to see things that you would not have seen initially if you just executed against something without planning, right? So writing down the document, the business planning document, the strategy document, helps you unpack everything. And it gets you to see things that you wouldn't see. That means that your strategy becomes more effective and technically efficient, right? So it'll also help you with what you build, why you're building it, and you need to track what worked and what didn't work and why that was the case. So it is a live working document. You don't write it once and just lock it in for 12 months. You should be reviewing that document probably in this type of technology weekly, definitely every 30 days, like bringing the team together. What did we do? What worked? Let's look at the metrics. So you also have to figure out how you record the innovation. So if you're going to change a marketing vertical using artificial intelligence, you're going to deploy a bot that communicates to a customer after hours, on the weekends, or whatever that may be, you need to build it so it's cased, right? So it's in a box and you can run vertical metrics on it. Like what time are people using it? How long are they using it for? Are they getting value from it? And all these types of things. Surveying is also really, I think, a critical thing. I'm not going to talk about that too much today, but imagine getting some user feedback. Or hey, you guys are amazing. This was really valuable. You got to the point where you moved a marketing qualified lead to a sales qualified lead using artificial intelligence, and you didn't require a human to do that. Like that's a good step forward for a business. So, and that won't affect sales or revenue, right? So that's certainly a good place to start, but you need to think about those things, just remove the chaos. So this keeps the business aligned and prevents AI becoming a collection of random experience, right? So documenting that will certainly help you. So for example, rolling out an AI inbox assistant with clear documentation builds trust, right? And the team will understand it. Doing it quietly creates confusion. If they don't know what you're doing and you're trying to roll this stuff out, it's going to be super confusing for people, right? So start small would be my advice. Avoid revenue high risk tasks, stay away from them. Focus on low-level admin tasks at really, really low risk. I like a risk matrices, that's my thing, 1 to 5. And I always have revenue as probably one of the highest risks. Two things. Will this damage sales and will it damage a customer? Those are really, really high risk elements for me. So I always like to have those right at the top. And certainly document as you go, because you'll get to the end of that and you won't have any analysis without documentation and review, right? Cool. All right, number 6, communicate early and be human about it. Super critical to get this right. I've failed in this space a couple of times for sure, not just in terms of deployment of AI, but just in general. That's right, I'm not perfect. I know you might think that, but I'm not. All right, so where to begin? So overbaked AI communication, it's probably what I would call it, upsets people. Like, especially in administration roles or the place you're going to start. That's why proactive communication and why I say communication is so critical to get that right in a company. Now, if it's just you and there's just 2 of you, you're working, it becomes certainly a lot easier, right? But if you have staff and long-term staff at that, proactive communication is super important. So people don't fear efficiency. So when you talk about efficiency, they hear, am I still needed? Right, man, and that's not great. So you need to get ahead of it. So before deployment, ask yourself a few simple questions. Who does this affect? What tasks will change? What time is freed? I would focus on what higher value work replaces it. I think that's really, really important. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. And what training is needed, right? So what you're doing is you're moving people up, not getting rid of them. And you need to communicate that effectively. That's what leadership's all about. So AI should be positioned as reallocation, not replacement. Be very specific about that in your communication, please, people. So you need people in the strategy for sure, and you want them doing higher, more valuable tasks. For every role impacted, map, I guess, what you could call what low value work will they not be doing, or what low value work essentially disappears, and what higher value work appears, right? So you get them doing the stuff they probably don't like anyway, and then you put them into, and then you elevate them and train them into roles on doing high value stuff to move the company towards its goals. And then what training supports that paradigm shift, right? And how does that create progression? So how do you need to manage it, talk about it? There's an HR element in there that you need to consider, and all those sorts of things. So look, people don't love repetitive administration. Come on, they just tolerate it. It's horrible. So freeing them from that and training them into high value work creates excitement, and enthusiasm if you handle it properly. If you don't, it can be damaging, right? So if AI handles an inbox, for example, and filters that for the human can focus on customer quality, for example. Maybe they can focus on process improvement, get into that really nice, innovative workflow innovation stuff. Because you're changing the workflow, you need everyone to be involved in that. And maybe they can move into problem solving. Hey, what, Lawrence? Paying people to problem solve? Oh, that's crazy talk. But maybe they can, right? So this is what AI is going to do in the revolution, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of where you would deploy it into a business. It's going to remove low-level, non-contributing tasks, so you can move people into higher-level, high-contributing tasks. But only if you communicate and support the shift. It is a bit of a paradigm shift, and we are going through that now. And some people are freaking out about it. They're worried about it. They're worried about job security. So getting ahead of that, I think, is really important. So, to recap that, communicate early, reallocate time, don't replace people. You need to figure out how you communicate that. An AI strategy without people is a strategy that will fail. Trust me, it just will. You need them around. And my advice is you want to elevate them to higher, more sort of customer-focused and high-performing tasks. Just to summarize that, AI strategy doesn't need to be complex. Not like the construction of a Prius, right? Which I'm assuming takes 4 years to build one. Like, look at it. It's aesthetically pleasing. Is that sarcasm, Lawrence? I'll let you guys figure that out. You really need to be proactive with it. So go slow with execution, get clear on the workflow, plan before you deploy, put ownership in the right hands of the right person, start small, and treat people with respect and be proactive about the communication element of technology deployment. So this isn't about replacing humans, it's about removing friction so humans can do just much better work. Thanks for listening, really, really appreciate it. If you found value in this, hit the subscribe button and click the bell for notifications for any future giveaways. or share it with someone thinking about AI in their business right now. But we do this for free and we fund it ourselves, so that support generally helps us move things forward. If you've got a question, drop it in the comments and I will get back to you sincerely. Thanks again. Appreciate you joining, and we'll see you next time.